Hi, this video is specifically for doing some shoulder movement that will help keep the shoulder healthy, open it up, and even I've used it for rehabilitation if I've had a martial arts injury or done with sparring or ground fighting in jiu-jitsu. The shoulder is a really unique structure, and as is all the different joints of the body are unique to themselves, and it is very highly mobile. And so if, for example, the shoulder can move in, say, 10 different directions, and if you only move it in 2 or 3 directions on a daily basis, then the rest of those potential movements, say there's 7 other movements that you don't do daily, tend to atrophy. Those 2 or 3 movements will strengthen, pulling that shoulder in one direction and causing discomfort. And so in order to work on that, there's a couple of key exercises that I found personally through my own rehabilitation and keeping my body healthy. And I'll just share them with you here. If it's true that we've evolved from monkeys or not, certainly hanging is a great deal. It will decompress that shoulder and lengthen the arm and generally want to pull it close out of that socket a little bit more. You can imagine and utilize that particular concept within all these shoulder exercises. The first exercise is, of course, shoulder shrugging, which is just rolling the shoulders through a gentle full range of motion. When we say gentle full range of motion, if you're pushing the envelope of a response to your body, in other words, you know that if the shoulder goes here, it's going to cause you to go ouch. We don't want to push it that far. What we can do is keep half that range. And as we begin rotating those shoulders and opening the shoulders through that range of motion, as they warm up, you will naturally be able to go into that area that's closer to that point. We never want to get into that pain response where the body wants to lock down, guard against it, move away from it. We want to move through an easy range of motion, and the body, as it warms, will begin stretching that range. So there is forward direction and the reverse direction. A little bit of clicking is fine. Generally, it's okay as long as we are grinding. And make sure that you follow the own wisdom and intuition, tuning into the higher in order to figure out what's the best movement for you. We can individualize each side to get a little bit more motion involved, or to focus on one particular shoulder. These are the forward rolls, shoulder rolls, and backwards rolls. Okay. A next common movement that's really good without load, without weight, is the shoulder rolls. And shoulder rolls are very simple. There's an easier way to do that. If I were to take my hand and just rotate it in a circle, it's going to automatically come to this point. It's going to want to turn over. As you rotate it around, it will come to a forward point where it wants to turn back over. So my palm is faced outwards, and I'm rotating that around, nice and easy, come all the way around, and as it hits that bottom, just past the bottom point, it'll naturally rotate over. You can see it there. I'm going to gently bring my shoulder. If this is the only range you can get, do that comfortably without, again, inactivating that pain response. If you can go higher and higher, that's great. We opened up talking about doing shoulder hangs. The easiest way to do this, one particular method of this, is to get up to the height, up to a 12 o'clock overhead position, and allow your arm to swing down gently, and that helps the traction on the lower end. As we come up to the higher, if you want to project through the shoulder, as you come through the higher, that will help hold it pushing outwards and upwards and outwards to open that shoulder more as we work through it. Make sure that you relax a little bit at the bottom. Allow that stretch to just relax and release. So what we're doing is a tensioning, a projection and a tensioning, and then a release and relax. Turn the hand back over, project, lengthen, and then at the bottom of that, release and relax. And we can do that in both directions as well. Moving the palm, keeping the palm outwards, and then allow it to rotate in its natural position. So there's a forward and back motion. A few times in either direction is really great. And that helps open that shoulder up. This is a great warm-up exercise, and others. And again, only if you can only do this much, that's your easy and your comfortable range. Stick to that. If you can go right to the ear, great. And don't forget to project through the arm. Release and relax. Let it relax at the bottom of the cycle. If it's a lot of tension that builds up, when you do that motion, keep a little extra time at this bottom range to release. Let the muscles relax and adjust to that movement. Third exercise, you can call it the Egyptian. In the old Kung Fu days, I learned this in 1990, called left-right bow stance. It's basically a modified version of it. A more simpler version is gentle fists, not tightened where your fingers are tight and whites of your fingernails turn white. Just a really loose, relaxed fist grip. And you're going to turn your right fist down. You're going to turn it downwards. And you're going to turn the left fist upwards. So you're going to basically supinate the left and pronate the right. And again, left, right. So they're turning in opposite motions of each other. And then as we apply that, we're going to turn to the right, keeping the elbows bent, and then to the left, and to the right, and to the left. You can see where this is kind of like the Egyptian. From the side, I don't want to pull my arms all the way back and really tension the shoulders. Allow them to come slightly forward on neutral. And so you're just slightly forward of the body. You can begin opening that up as you go. There's a left, right. If this is too easy for you, then what you can do is project out through both hands, open the palms, and actually keep them on the same line. This is a much more intense stretch. And this way, I'm actually more towards the lateral edge of this. It also engages the upper spine, the upper thoracics, really opens that up. One of the emphasis is where I'm turning is not the emphasis on the shoulder. The shoulder is on the arm that's behind you. So my shoulder is actually rotating forward and downwards as we're rotating forward, getting that forward and rotating downward motion while you're projecting again on the rear side. So I'm rolling that shoulder over and projecting out of that rear arm. I'm rolling the shoulder and projecting down that rear arm. That keeps that shoulder again working as a natural unwinding, as a strengthening and stretching of that joint. So that's the Egyptian or left-right bow stance. You can get more intense with it or easier and easier with it just to begin the warm-up. Fourth exercise is called the teacup exercise. It's the most effective exercise for the shoulder joint through a lot of range of the motion that we just don't normally use through our day. Remember we said if the shoulder moves in 10 different ways and we only use it 3 different ways, 7 of those ways are going to atrophy. This really gets the upper part of that shoulder motion and what's behind us. We do a lot of work like this. We do a lot of work like this. Not as much work up here through our day, and certainly very little work here throughout our day, or more importantly, here throughout our day. So this will hit that range. We do like to do the other exercises first as a warm-up. So it starts off with one hand on your belly in the low position. And then we're going to rotate that around behind us on the same plane so it stays parallel to the floor, comes behind us in our lower back. At this point, we're going to bring that back around. And as we bring it back around to the front, we're going to raise up our level till it's over our heads. And then we're going to circle around behind us as much overhead as we can. And then we're going to bring it down to the starting position. So it's a half a circle in the low position, rotate around, almost a full circle in the upper position. Again, starts in the front, stays on the same plane, rotates behind us to our lower back. And then as we bring that around to the front, it's going to come completely overhead, one big circle overhead, and back down to starting position. You'll notice that the palm stays upwards the whole time. Thus, it's called a teacup exercise, because in China in the old days, they would put the teacup in their hand with water and keep that teacup from falling out of their hands. So that palm stays upwards all the time, from the low position in the front to the low position in the back, to rotating around, to the high position, one big circle in the high position down to the front. Now notice this is, we were going through a full range of motion on that exercise. We did the shoulder roll on the third exercise with the Egyptian. With this, we're incorporating that and extending that more. We're coming behind you, and it really opens up that shoulder from that position, and then pushing outwards from behind you as you torsion around in the front. Here, this position is extremely important right there. That rolls through the upper part of that position. Again, my hand is pointing to the ceiling. It's in the upper head position. When I point it to over my left rear shoulder, that's almost the most important part of the stretch. Whereas I begin projecting and pushing my right hands to behind my shoulder at an angle, and then rotate it around the front. And again, when I push towards over my shoulder in that direction, that's the most important for that shoulder. We'll show it from this position. As I come around, I'm going to push the shoulder, extending through the joint and rotating around, and that really opens up that front shoulder. The opposite from this position, it opens it up into this position. You can do that with both sides. It's called the teacup exercise. It's really good. The last exercise we'll share is a little bit of a load position, and we can come down on the floor and you can control the amount of load that you want. If I sit on my haunches and my weight is almost fully back in my feet, I almost have no weight in my hands. I can do the shoulder rotation in this position. If I want a little more load, I come to the dog position and I can rock forward off of my haunches onto my arms and get a little bit more load onto that. And this allows you to take your shoulders through a nice full range of motion with a little extra load. If you want more than that, you come up in full position and you go full load. That's pretty intense, and if you're in rehabilitation, you may not get to there for a while. And then take your time doing these exercises. There's others. I would suggest Hindu push-ups as another variation, but that's a lot more load, and it's excellent for the shoulder. I would put that right next in the next period of transition to open that up, and you can look up Hindu push-ups online. It's very easy. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know.